Thank you, TP. Thank you for sticking to time. Good explanation on where we are headed and the complications. I think critical point raised about testing facilities, etc. If we calculate, I think Director GTRE will know. We continue to pay for flying test bed for the engine in Russia, which stayed on ground. We paid for its maintenance, paid for its upgrade for I think 20 years, 15, 20 years. So we've paid so much money that probably we would have been able to establish our own facility. I'm just giving an example. I will just take 5-7 minutes and try and cover some points which were, I'll try and stick to things that were not said. Engines has become a focus of this session, although it's overall strengthening of the aerospace ecosystem. But engine, now that we are at that critical stage of 5th generation engine, I think it is also time to see, not only to quickly arrive at decisions, but to also see the reasons why we failed earlier and why we will succeed on a similar path by just, some kind of collaboration. We should not forget that the people or the companies that we collaborate with are also your competitors. You are taking off today, will succeed in 15 years, will equip an engine which will reach its command in 20 years. There are too many risks to take. So I think there is a drastic requirement of looking at things de novo, involvement of private sector in a big way, not as production partner, but as part of your co-development right up front. Why don't we make a SPV? Put some commitment from the private sector, which should be upfront, both in financial terms, thereafter in management, thereafter in efficiencies and cost reduction, and a better capability to manage along with global partner chosen, whoever is chosen. Safran is here, I think they were discussing with others. But wherever we choose, we have to take some drastic measures that we do not come across problems that we have faced earlier. And why go on a pure DRDO project or a GTRE lab project with a production partner, which will happen later? Why not learn our lessons and do things differently? On the ecosystem, I think clearly, very clearly, as far as build to print ecosystem is concerned, our aerospace ecosystem has come of age. There is a lot that has happened over 4 or 5 decades of licensed production. So not only HAL and DRDO labs who've been involved in either design or in production, but their downside partners. Increasingly, lately, I think private sector has come up, and a lot of supply chain into foreign partners like Tata and many other big companies are producing equipment, which is being supplied to big players like Lockheed or Boeing, etc. So build to print ecosystem is fairly there. The transition to R&D and getting into production or design and producing it or scaling it, that is where the challenge lies. DRDO and HAL being holders of the entire infrastructure, the license, if you may put it, like all the licenses, all the controls, all the testing, all the certification, the complete, in this transition, what DRDO labs and DPSUs need to do to involve the private sector, MSMEs, is it being done? The policies have got reformed in the last 5 years. The results should have shown now. It has not shown, therefore it is not working. So the DPSUs still see private sector and MSMEs or whichever capabilities coming up in this private sector as competitors. So we are not taking this as a whole of nation approach. Absolutely not, as far as the aerospace ecosystem is concerned. And DRDOs and DPSUs are singularly failing in this aspect, that they need to educate, or they need to take the private sector together, MSMEs together, into this transition into D&D and production. So I think this is a critical area that needs to be looked at, needs to be addressed. I can give you many, many examples. I've seen industry very closely in the last 2 years. There are small-scale industries or MSMEs who are producing equipment. The order from Air Force or Army or Navy doesn't go to them. It will only go to HAL, because That is the easiest, that is the only way a single vendor can be given. 100 other things. So 80% of MSMEs who have succeeded in producing an equipment are actually exporting it or are actually providing that equipment to the contractor who's got a contract with the defense services. This is the ground reality. So we need to change this, we need to make it simpler, procedurally, process-wise, and Air Force reps being here, possibly to take note for the future, how we can access the private sector directly without these hesitations or without the procedural issues that clamp you down. DefSec has mentioned about there is no dearth of funds. I think I agree to the extent that actually we are unable to spend our funds because we just don't place enough orders with the private sector. We are only placing orders with the DPS. You just pick up the last 2-3 years, except for the last 6 months. All the 80% of orders have gone only to DPSUs. Only to DPSUs. So if our Atmanirbharta depends on our R&D facility, we need to incentivize R&D, a point that Mr. Sukran made so emphatically, and I can assure you he was being very polite about it. The actual level and scale of the problem is much, much stronger, and if a company like Tata has challenges and issues on this, even on financial terms, you can imagine what MSMEs or startups would be facing. On the R&D, a lot of encouragement by schemes like Aditi's, IDEX from 1 crore to 25 crores. But this is very small money. It is going up to make maximum, I think, 500 crores this year, 250 crores, and some make one 250 crores. So overall, if you see what is 500 or 700 or 1,000 crores over one financial year towards R&D in the aerospace, it is not even 2% of what we should be doing, and therefore the need of having innovative methods to budget or to finance these activities. Government cannot put the entire money. It has to be encouragement to the private sector. It has to be encouragement to VCs, to fund managers, to deploy the funds in this sector. I think the next challenge is how do we, again, it's an issue of incentivizing. If somebody in the private sector makes a product and wants to certify it, it is impossible even today, irrespective of what DRDO says, irrespective of what policy changes that have happened, irrespective of government saying that no, incentivize private sector. I know of many companies who just want to, go to the labs and put up their product for, certification. They just don't get time. There are companies in space as startups. They want to test their system in the air. They just do not have a way forward. They're just going around in circles, just giving presentations and not having a way. So these are the ground realities on the ecosystem, not on build to print, which is well established, but on these sides, which will make all the difference towards Atmanirbharta. So I think these are the issues that we need to look at, both from organizationally point of view and policy, and also from private sector point to continue to give this feedback. Upgrade of manufacturing tech capability, I think, is a point that some of the speakers have made. I think that is really critical. When the LCA scaling from 8 to 16 was promised 8 years back, it is not even done today. Chief mentioned it has taken 10 years to produce 40 aircraft, 4 aircraft a year. Okay, so where is the guarantee that the next order, which is already 2 years late, when will 80s be delivered and when will 97s be delivered? The production capability increase in terms of technology, in terms of automation, in terms of digitization of manufacturing is critical. And except for 1 or 2 private players, I don't think it exists anywhere in the aerospace sector. And I think that again becomes critical as we go forward. Ability to scale what succeeds in tech development, ability to manufacture and then scale. I think there, the digitization and ability to involve the entire, private sector footprint, There is a lot of energy in MSMEs and big private sector players to come into this. So if there is a cohesive approach, if there are absolute change of scene in terms of how to handle the ecosystem, the orders and the testing and manufacturing and the induction, I'm very sure that the level of Atmanirbharta, the true Atmanirbharta, would really rise drastically. One last point I want to make quickly before opening to question is that we are so engrossed in trying to recover the lost ground and trying to really get to grips with what we need to do today, that we, I think, are forgetting or losing, or missing out on the revolution that is taking place in terms of AI, in terms of generative AI and quantum computing, etc. The design scene is going to change within a year or two in the Western world. And in I think 2 to 3 years, if not earlier, entire new weapon systems, including new unmanned aircraft or new aircraft, the design time would reduce to 1 year. The moment you have this capability, which is just getting enabled. And while we come to grips with our own problems, which are historical in nature, I think we need to just reset our mind and look at the future. And some bit of technological development and lot of investment, both on the government side, on the private sector side, on the funding side, needs to go into this field. We are already so late that if you would try and order GPUs today for some AI work, actually you will probably get it after 3-4 years. I don't know if I may be mistaken, but not earlier. So even if you wake up today, actually the infrastructure that you need for this kind of work, it's 2-3 years away. So on the manufacturing side on aerospace, I think some work needs to be done. And since it is going to be cost intensive, manpower intensive, I think DRDO is best placed to take these leads and hopefully they will do something about it. That's all from my side to give some points on what I feel towards how the ecosystem needs to be strengthened for the future towards becoming Atmanirbhar. We'll throw it open for questions. Please go ahead if you want to ask something.